Hello, people. It's Andrew from the Journeyman Podcast. I hope everybody's doing well. Um, Really, this was just a quick video that I thought I would do just to touch base on the weekend action, especially the big match between Man United and Fulham. Carrick's magic seems to be carrying on for whatever reason. It seems like he's just found the correct formula to make everything work. And then also as well, we're probably just going to touch a little bit on what happened to the City game because again, that result, well, to me anyway, I didn't really find that result too surprising because it just seems like there has been a trend that is going on with City whenever they face Tottenham for whatever reason. So focusing on the game at with Man United and Fulham. So again, it just seems like Carrick can't seem to be doing any wrong at the moment. It just seems like whatever he's got going on with the players seem to have really bought into what he's doing and they seem to believe in the ideas that he's putting forward. And I would say the main thing that I can see with this team now that is going on and moving forward is that there's a real belief to play to the very end. And when we harken back to those days of Alex Ferguson, it was always the whole concept of Fergie time, that the game is never over until that final whistle goes. And it seems like in the space of 3 games, Carrick has seemed to install that same type of belief into this group of players because it doesn't matter what happens in a game, they can concede late, but there's always that belief that that next goal is there. And I think that type of belief is going to see the team through the season very, very well moving forward because it doesn't seem like it's a belief that is letting up anytime soon. And it just seems like as time has gone on, it just seems like these players, it doesn't matter if they're on the bench, it doesn't matter if they're starting the game, but they all are pulling in the same direction. Where I felt that, especially when we had Amarim in charge, it did seem like certain players, especially that they weren't in the team, it just seemed like there was no belief in them at all. Whereas with Carrick, it doesn't matter if you start on the bench, it doesn't matter if you start on the pitch, but they know once they get onto that pitch that they have something that they need to do and they believe in the cause. And I think that's the main thing that I can see that has changed between Carrick being in charge and and how it was when Amarim was in charge. There's a real belief in the players and the belief in the whole squad in general as well. And I think going back to the title seasons that we saw from Man United in the past, it was always a case where the squad was the most important thing. It doesn't matter if you're not playing week in, week out. There will be certain games that you will need to come into and you will need to perform. We saw that with players in the past like Fletcher. Never used to start every game, but in the certain big games where we needed his presence, he was there and he knew he had to perform. Similar situation to somebody like a Park Ji Sung. They would come in for certain games and they would have to fulfill certain tasks, and they did those type of tasks to perfection. And that is the whole beauty of having a squad because you'll need these certain players in certain situations to come in and perform and do it at a high level as well. So every championship squad needs those type of players. And obviously, I'm not saying Man United are a championship squad. We're quite far away from that at the moment. But in terms of just certain characteristics, I can see those type of belief systems being instilled into these players, which I feel is a very, very big thing, especially moving forward. If we are planning on getting back to our winning ways of how dominant we were in the past, these are values that these players need to hold because playing for a big club, you might not start every game. You're going to have big players fighting for every position. So you need to know that when you are called upon, you need to perform. And you have to have that mentality that you know that everything is done for the betterment of the team. And I think with these players under Carrick, it does really seem like all of these players have that belief that he's doing everything to try and do best by the team and everybody is buying into it. Also very happy that Sesko got a goal. I think with him, even with the cameo appearances that he's coming on off the bench, it always seems like he is doing something positive. Even against Arsenal, came on. If it wasn't for him winning that flick on to then pass the ball back to Meno, and I think he then passed it to Cunha for him to go and get that winning goal. Even in this game as well, the cross in by Bruno, which again was just fantastic play. The dummy, the cross in the box is just, yeah, he's just a world class footballer. I can't even lie. But even with him to be able to control that and find the top corner with such composure, I mean, that is what you need in your number nine. Clinical finishing. Once you get a chance, you know you just need to bury it, especially in the time of the game where there was not much time left at all. He knew that he had to get that ball, control it, and score it, and he did everything perfectly. So, and I think that's just like I mentioned, there's just a testament of just the belief in this team. He's not starting every game, but every time he comes on, he's always trying to perform. He's always trying to do his best for the team, and I think with him, I think the clear quality is there in that in him as a player, and I'm very very glad that we got him over Gyökeres, who I think was Amorim's first choice, but I think with Gyökeres he had a little bit of an issue going to Man United via any European football, which good for us because I think we've got a very, I think Sesko in the future is going to be a world class striker. And I think he's got all the attributes, the pace, the technique, the physicality as well. Like he's a very tall striker, rangy, fast. He can control the ball, hold it up. He's got good link up play. I think he's got everything that a modern number nine would need moving forward. And I think as time progresses and he develops, I think he's going to be a quality striker moving forward for us. And one smart piece of management that I think Carrick's done with him is apparently I've heard that he got Berbatov to speak to him to just give him some words of encouragement because even when Berbatov first joined Man United, it's not like he hit the ground running. There was some ups and downs, inconsistencies, and I think the culture around him and the way people explain to him about the club and how it works, I think he grasps the size of the club, especially in his second season, and that's why his second season he was able to perform to the level that he was able to perform to. So it seems like Carrick is trying to get these players to understand the gravity of playing for a club like Man United. And I think once you understand that type of gravity of playing for a club like Man United, then it makes you, rather than having pressure to perform for the club, it makes you have the passion and the belief to perform for the club. So it really does seem like that is something that he is instilling into the players. And I'm very happy that I am seeing it at the moment because we've just come out of the dark ages with somebody like a Ruben Amorim. So hopefully this form does continue. And I think when we had the wins over City and we had the wins over Arsenal, I think people were saying that these games against Fulham are the games that are really going to show whether or not we are going to be able to at least continue the good form and climb up the table and sustain our position in those Champions League places. And I think that performance on the weekend proved that even against the lesser teams in the league, that we are still able to perform at a good level and be able to get points on the board in these type of games. So couldn't be happier with the weekend. Nothing better than a late winner. So definitely, I have no complaints about everything went on. Obviously, a bit annoying conceding the two goals, but I think that belief that even if they concede two goals, get a late equalizer, they still have that belief to win. I think that is going to serve the team well for the rest of the season. And then touching on the Man City Tottenham game, I remember I did say on the podcast last week that that game would be a tricky game for City. I don't know what it is about Tottenham and City, but there's always something that Tottenham seem to have over City. It doesn't matter if they're playing good, it doesn't matter if they're playing bad, but for whatever reason, they always seem to get some type of result against them. And again, this weekend, it was pretty much more of the same, really. And Solanke scored an absolutely amazing scorpion kick. So he to even drop points with a goal conceded like that, fair play. I don't think they could even have much complaints about that. But City are a very confusing team at the moment. It seems like they're lacking that something that they just need to drive them forward. With the way the season is going at the moment, it seems like no team is really grasping anything. I think obviously Arsenal are top of the league by 6 points now, so they're in the pole position. But City, usually you would say at this time of the season that you would have confidence in them racking up back-to-back wins and getting their performances in check, but it just seems like there's something off in the team. Even Haaland's goals seem to have kind of dried up. They don't seem to be able to kill teams off even when they score and get in the lead. They seem to be losing sloppy goals and then dropping points, and their defense doesn't really seem to be as solid anymore. They don't seem as creative and confident on the ball, so they're still scoring goals, but it seems like just in that central midfield area, they don't have the same control that they used to have. And I think one of the big misses that they do have there is somebody like a De Bruyne, because Yes, they've got other players that are in the team getting assists. Like they've got Cherky there, who's come in and he's been very good for them. He's one of the top assisters in Europe. So he's covered like the creative side of things, but I think it's creating from a different area to what De Bruyne was doing. And I think that's probably one of the things that are missing in their midfield because they've signed a very good player in Rangers who is a quality player, but he doesn't really offer the same things as somebody like a De Bruyne does. And I think that is probably the main thing that if they're not going to win the league, I think that is the main thing that is going to cost them at the end of the season because going forward still they still are scoring goals. They've got some very good attackers, but I think just that block behind the midfield area, I think that is a little bit of a concern for them. They don't seem to be having that same control moving forward. So it's crazy. We'll see how that goes with them because it does seem like even Guardiola doesn't seem to be 100% happy with the team and with the club in general because he's coming out making statements talking about they're the seventh highest net spend team and congratulate the six teams that are ahead of them. And I'm thinking that you're talking about net spend, but it's not like City have not been backing you. Like they've given you so much money to spend. So it's a bit crazy him making these comments. And with the comments with him, you never really know if he's saying it tongue in cheek, like maybe because the media is always talking about how much he spends. And now he's saying, oh, yeah, we're only the seventh highest net spend team. So it's maybe just a attack at the media or if it's attack at the board saying that we don't have enough players, we don't have enough signings. It's a crazy thing. I'm not really 100% sure on what his intentions are 100%, but something doesn't seem right there. It seems like he is it seems like when he's getting towards the end of the tenure at a club. So I think a similar thing happened at Barcelona with all the stresses with Mourinho. You saw him starting lashing out in press conferences, and at the end of the season, yeah, he left the club and then he took a sabbatical before going to Bayern. Even a similar thing with Bayern as well. They were criticizing him, saying that he needs to be more direct, all of these things. And then in that last season again, started lashing out at the media, started seeming like he was very stressed with the job. So it seems like those similar signs are coming in place with City as well, which even surprisingly, this is the longest tenure he's ever been at a football club. So it's interesting to see what does happen with him because if he does leave, I wonder who they are going to get in next. It probably does seem like it is going to be Maresca. He is still out of a job at the moment, and it did seem like they were priming him to be the next manager. But it's interesting to see how that all pans out and just what happens between now and the end of the season because if there is any manager that is able to galvanize this team of players, and they are a very talented team of players, to start stringing together results, it can end up being a very interesting title race. But if it ends up being in a similar fashion where, for whatever reason, in certain games they're just not able to get over the line, it's basically like they're just going to hand Arsenal the league. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, just thought I'll just give a quick recap on just both of those games, especially being a United fan. I'm just very happy about what is going on at the moment. And just that City game as well was just something I wanted to touch on because it just seemed like, yeah, it just doesn't seem like there's something right there. But hopefully we should have more content coming for you soon. We'll be even talking about maybe, not even maybe, we'll definitely be talking about different type of sports as well. So not just football, we'll probably even touch into basketball because there's been a lot of interesting trades that have been happening recently in basketball as well. So just stay tuned for the more content and just, yeah, we just appreciate everybody that enjoys what we do at the moment. So this is me. Take care, people. Have a good evening or whatever you're doing and take care. Bless.